Hello guys. In today's video, I brought a very good friend of mine back. It was a very unplanned video, but I guess you seen on screen who's back now. Cheers for coming back on mic at this short notice. So let's talk a bit about Formula One.
Let's definitely do that, Raz. First of all, big congratulations to you for hitting 500 subscribers. That's awesome to hear. And as usual with our collaborations, they're usually very last minute and very unplanned. I'm pretty sure it was like 2 o'clock today. You're like, do you want to do a collab? And I was like, 4 o'clock? And you're like, yeah, sure, let's go for it.
Yeah. So, cheers for all the kind words on the 500. I mean, I was absolutely stunned yesterday. I was actually gonna think. I was actually thinking that I was actually gonna lose some subscribers because I posted the video yesterday about Carlos Sainz, but then because it was pretty much confirmed by German media, and then everybody said, "Oh, fake news." So I thought I was gonna lose some, but no, I actually gained some. So cheers for all your support anyway. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all, mate. I'm just glad that you've hit this achievement, and it's on to 1K now. 1,000 subscribers is our next big stop. But here we go, Raz. I'm glad it's going well.
So yeah, let's just hope it's going to take me less than 4 years, eh?
I'm sure it will, mate. I'm sure it will. We're getting great stuff, and I'm sure now your platform's just going to keep growing and growing. It'll be great stuff.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Mike. And what do you think, first of all, about the Carlos Sainz move and to Ferrari?
I think it's a bold move by both him and Ferrari because, well, he had his breakthrough season at McLaren, and it was a very good season last year. He certainly performed very well. Obviously, finishing P6 in the championship was a good result for him. But it was his first season that he'd really announced himself as an F1 driver, had a good position. He's had a whole team behind him at McLaren. He had a good team partnership with Lando Norris. But now he's given that all up to drive for the big team that is Ferrari. And I've got to give the guy credit. He's going there to push himself because Ferrari right now have a more championship contending car than what McLaren do. He's still young, 26. I know a lot of people expected him to be number 2, and I think Charles Leclerc is the better driver out of the two. I don't think there's much debate on that front. But, Carlos is going to push himself, and if you put yourself in a good car, you never know what might happen.
Yeah, I mean, as I said yesterday, I mean, I actually think he could be a dark horse in terms of pushing Charles Leclerc, because I don't think he's gonna accept the number 2 status, playing water boy to Charles Leclerc. And I think Tomo F1 actually said something similar in his live stream this morning. I think that what he did. I think I would be surprised if he accepts the water boy status as much as everybody thinks he is.
I can't see him. A 26-year-old driver, I think he'll be 26 by the time he joins Ferrari. He's not going to suddenly just turn around and go, right, that's it. I'm here to play second fiddle to Charles Leclerc. That's my career over. I'm now here to be a Ferrari number 2 driver. Especially with the guy who had the season that Carlos had last year. If it was Giovinazzi, I could completely understand him settling for the number 2 role. But Carlos, he's certainly. It may be obviously expected that he'll be number 2, but I don't think he's going to accept that role and take it lying down. He definitely will be a fighter within the team.
But here's the question: do you think they will expect him to be number 2? And if he doesn't play ball, do you reckon they're going to get somebody else in the middle of the season?
I don't think they'd get someone else middle of the season. I don't think they're quite Red Bull status on that front. But I think it's only a 2-year contract, I believe, that he's signed. So, yeah, there's definitely potential to kind of have a look and see how this one goes. And if it doesn't quite work out, they know that they've got their young Ferrari driver academy in Robert Schwartzman and Mick Schumacher, and Antonio Giovinazzi in F1 is still there currently. If it doesn't work out, they do have backups. So it really is on Sainz to perform and to earn his spot within that Ferrari car.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But, I think it could end up like Ocon and Perez when it was at Force India / Racing Point. Because I think, as I said, I think they're both going to be fighting for wins. And I do think Carlos Sainz is the right choice. And I do wonder whether but do you think he is actually world champion material?
You never know until they're put in that situation. Carlos Sainz, as it currently stands, as the driver that he is as of today speaking, is not. It depends how he develops with Ferrari. He could easily turn into a very successful and a guy who does challenge for the title. But as things stand, I would say he's a very good driver, a very competent driver, but not of World Championship material, especially not compared to Charles Leclerc just yet.
I agree with you, and I would just say that maybe he knows that. Maybe he took that seat in the knowledge that I'm not 100% certain whether I'm world champion material, but having a podiums and a few wins with Ferrari is better than with any other team in terms of status.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, it would be surprised if you'd have to question his motivation if he's given up on that, because F1 drivers all want to compete for the top prize within Formula One. So I'd be surprised if he's entirely given up on that, but maybe he does go that, look, I've got this great position Ferrari. I might never get this position a shot to drive for Ferrari again. I'm going to take it. If I help them win a Constructors' Championship, that's still something pretty awesome to achieve.
Yep, I agree with you. And coming on to that, I mean, when you think about it, Sebastian Vettel never managed to get a championship with Ferrari. He only managed to get, I say only, he's still managed to get 14 race victories. And for some reason, I've read somewhere that makes him still the third most successful Ferrari driver, which surprised me.
Yeah, he is the third most successful Ferrari driver of all time, only behind Niki Lauda, obviously a great driver, and Michael Schumacher as well. So yeah, mightily impressive to have that one under his belt.
So yeah, I didn't know that. I was surprised how that nobody's not he managed to get the third most successful Ferrari driver spot. So what do you think about his retirement?
I mean, I know it's not official yet, but it does feel that Seb. I suppose that's the first question. Do you think Seb will retire or not? But I think the way he's speaking and the fact that he's not going to go McLaren, so he isn't going to go Renault, I would think it would be absolutely bizarre if Mercedes decide to put them together. I mean, it would be brilliant for F1 fans. We'd absolutely love to have a teammate partnership of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton in a partnership. Mercedes as a team, it would be crazy to do. So, yes, Sebastian Vettel, it's a shame. One of the greats of the modern era, certainly, of the past decades, supreme driver, very good. I know some people have tarnished his Ferrari days with missed opportunities. 2017 and 2018 feel like the championships that got away from him. But he's certainly, incredibly successful driver and someone who's been a championship contender with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I can see Vettel carrying on is as follows. Hamilton going to Aston Martin and Vettel going to Mercedes, which I've also done a video about, and I still think there is a possibility. I mean, a lot of people have kind of said, fake news again, but it's like I really do think it's a possibility, especially because Lewis Hamilton hasn't signed a contract yet, neither, and Total Wolff has decided to plunge in $70 million into Aston Martin. I mean, if he is still the team boss at Mercedes, I would be very surprised, because the reason why I'm saying that is because he actually sold his shares in Williams when he became Mercedes team principal. So I can't really see that happening.
Interesting one. I think the Toto to Aston Martin and Lewis to Aston Martin, it is a very interesting one. I would be incredibly surprised if they did it going into 2021 or 2022, because, well, maybe 2022 at the start of the new regulations, you don't know, but 2021 definitely not. They're on the verge of history in terms of as a team. Lewis on the verge of equaling Michael Schumacher's drivers' records. Mercedes being the first team to win kind of back-to-back 7 constructors titles and 7 world titles. They'd be the first team in the history of the sport to win 7 back-to-back constructors titles. I think Mercedes is unfinished business for both of them at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we can only wait and see. But in terms of Vettel, I think when he took the Ferrari contract, when he took the Ferrari contract, he was always gonna fail.
I don't think he was always going to fail. I think it was incredibly hard because of how much winning for Ferrari would mean to him. Because obviously we've got to remember that, Michael Schumacher was Sebastian Vettel's childhood hero. The main reason he went to Ferrari was because he wanted to win a championship like Michael Schumacher won 5 championships at Ferrari. Just one would have been good enough for Sebastian, and to bring, success back to Scuderia, Ferrari, and obviously the Tifosi. But 2017, 2018, you can't say that it was missed opportunities by both Ferrari and Seb. Yeah. I don't think it was impossible for them to win. Yeah. I just think they made mistakes that season, and sometimes that happens.
I was gonna come on to the fact that he was under tremendous pressure when he took the job because of him being best mates with Michael Schumacher. You know, I can remember. I think there's a lot of they did the race of champions together, and there's some pictures about where Michael is giving Vettel Michael is giving the trophy of his kart championships or kart events. So I think, I mean, I didn't mean he was always going to fail. I just think it was incredibly hard for him to even try and get his best out, because the German media in particular, they absolutely said he's going to be the next Michael Schumacher, and he's going to win 6 championships with Ferrari. You know, which winning a championship is incredibly hard anyway. So, you know, from that point of view, I think, as I said, 17 and 18 have been missed opportunities on both parts. But, you know, I think he's done all he wants to do in F1, and now it's time to sort of concentrate on his family, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that point. There was always immense pressure on him. Remember, at the time he moved to Ferrari, he was on 4 World Championships back in 2015. Well, he still is on 4, Drivers' World Championships. But, that was only 3 away from Michael Schumacher's record, and it was 3 more than what Lewis Hamilton. It was 2 more than what Lewis Hamilton had at that stage, because Lewis had won his first with Mercedes back in 2014. So I get that point. It was definitely a high pressure environment for Vettel to ever be successful. He still could in 2020 with a season, whatever season we get together, but I feel like it's a shame that he wasn't able to fulfill his dream. Yeah.
And last point on him, do you think he was pushed, or do you think it was his own decision?
100% his own decision. I think Ferrari were happy with Vettel. I think they were happy with what he could bring to the team and the type of bloke he was. And the fact that him and Charles got on off the track was although they kind of clashed a little bit on track, off track they were generally pretty good, and it was a pretty good team environment, and Seb's probably technical feedback was invaluable for the team. So this was very much Seb's choice.
Do you reckon it surprised them?
I think yes and no. I think they've probably been expecting his retirement for a while, but I think they were probably surprised at the timing that it came.
Yeah, because
him leaving the team, because officially he hasn't retired.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him going anywhere else. The only team that I could have seen him, and I even mentioned it yesterday because I was convinced before Daniel came up with Daniel Ricciardo, but yesterday when I pre-broke the news that Sainz had signed, I was actually convinced that he was gonna go to McLaren, because first of all, I thought, with the Mercedes engine, because they're using Mercedes engines from 2021, and then also Eddie Jordan mentioned it, and then also the fact that him and Andrea Seidel got on, knew each other from the BMW Sauber days. So that's why I was convinced that Vettel was going to move to, that it was a seat swap between Sainz and Vettel. But I did not see Ricciardo coming.
Yeah, I could have seen that. Out of any of the teams, out of the realistic options, McLaren was certainly the project that I thought would have interested Sebastian. I think it certainly would have been an interesting one, but yeah, with him not obviously going for the McLaren seat, because I think there were rumours and reports yesterday that McLaren had approached him, but he turned the offer down. Um, so yeah, that's when Daniel Ricciardo move went in. So yeah, Daniel Ricciardo to McLaren, I think is a pretty good move for both parties. You know, Daniel Ricciardo is a proven race winner within a top team. It hadn't worked out at Renault, but I think he just wanted to escape Red Bull. I'm not entirely sure whether he necessarily believed in the Renault project, but he believed in it last year. McLaren was in his thoughts the previous year before obviously they signed Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. He almost signed for McLaren back at the start of the 2019 season. Well, for the 2019 season, in what it would have been midway through 2018, he was signed. But
20,
yeah, with
20 million, wasn't it? It was 20 million a year, rumored, wasn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't worked out at Renault, but I do think McLaren is probably a much better environment for Ricciardo, and it will certainly be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think he knows something that we don't. I think the reason why, I mean, I'm probably going to get slaughtered for this again, like I did yesterday, but I think, I think Renault might not survive beyond the 2020 season if we ever get one.
Well, you never know. I don't like to say definite in these times because these are unprecedented times. I don't know how any of the teams are going to be financially and what the sport's going to look like afterwards. I would veer on the side of they're at least getting to the new set of regulations, Renault. If obviously financially they're capable of doing so. I just don't think. I think Ricciardo went with a lot of promises from Renault, and I don't think he's seen enough from those promises, so he therefore wants to try his luck somewhere else.
I know exactly. You know, what I mean? It's like a bit like, it's like if you said to me, right, you're gonna give me, you're gonna make my, you're gonna build me the best car, and then you build me a dog of a car, um, you know, whereas before you said to me, oh, we're gonna win potentially championships together, and then we are we end up being at the back of the grid, whereas like McLaren, everybody, they didn't say nothing, and now they sort of climbing they've climbed to sort of the way back up to the front, front of the midfield, and being having a bit of respectability back, if you know what I mean. And I think what they have achieved without actually mentioning, without actually saying, oh, we're gonna fight for wins and podiums and stuff. I think that is what ultimately impressed, Ricciardo.
Yeah, I think with Daniel Ricciardo, it was a 2-year contract. So essentially, Renault had to impress him because he was the top talent, essentially. And Renault weren't the Renault who had won championships back in 2005-06. They weren't the kind of same Benetton team that obviously had won titles with Schumacher in 94 and 95. It was a project Renault, and they had this time to kind of impress the way that they were running. And you can always tell that Daniel Ricciardo wasn't totally happy. The only thing he has to be careful with is he doesn't want to be seen as a mercenary. But the Renault Ricciardo pick didn't really work. He openly spoke about in interviews how he was keeping his options open. He spoke publicly about the mentality of the Renault team wasn't matching what the mentality of the Red Bull team was. And I think if you're saying stuff like that, you're very much probably preparing for a guy to go, because he's certainly not buying into that project, or isn't at least convinced by the project at Renault.
Yeah. And final question, before we get on to the next question, I want to know, do you agree with, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Dan from F1 FE Reviews, who said that Sainz and Ricciardo are going to have the worst 2020 season if we ever get one going, because they're just gonna essentially leave them out of the team, because they're gonna disappear or leave them at the end of the year. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I tweeted something out saying something very similar. Having seen Carlos Sainz's thank you video to McLaren, I think McLaren will have a better ending to their relationship than what Daniel Ricciardo and Renault. I think it will be a very unpleasant end probably to the relationship with Daniel Ricciardo and Renault, because they invested a lot of money in him and they haven't really seen anything major in the returns for that money. So essentially that's money pissed down a drain. And Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, is thankful. And, it isn't wrong to say that McLaren at the moment aren't direct competitors with Ferrari. So Sainz is having a step up in their career, and they've got Daniel Ricciardo in replacement. So they're not too unhappy, and I'm sure they will support. But both drivers will find it difficult, because especially Ricciardo, it doesn't make business sense to invest too much time or effort in either of Sainz or Ricciardo's seasons, because they're not going to be there as the team anymore. So if they're not going to be part of the team anymore, why would you give them resources? And plus, especially Ricciardo, he's a direct midfield competitor that he's moving to. You don't want to be knowing, not that they would kind of share information about their previous team, but you don't want to show them anything that they're doing.
So, I'm going to put something very controversial to you. Who is the current reserve driver for Renault?
Oh, I believe Sergei Sorokin is one of them.
Anyway, here's the deal. What do you think? Right? Because I think Renault is pretty cheesed off with Ricciardo. What do you think if they say, we're going to put you on furlough, so to speak, till the end of the season, but we don't want you finishing the season?
I'd be surprised by that, because they would still, I imagine within the contract, they would still have to pay him, even if they say terminate the contract. And so they might as well get some performance out of him for their investment with damage limitation, rather than completely just kick him out the door. I'd be very surprised if that happened, but stranger things have happened within F1.
I mean, I would be surprised, and I don't just to be clear, I don't really think that is going to happen, but it's not beyond the bounds of possibility, is it?
You never say never in F1. That is for sure. But I would say that, yeah, very, very highly unlikely. But it depends. Renault don't seem to be taking this decision well at all. But
coming on to Renault, who do you reckon is going to get Ricciardo's seat? I mean, there have been rumours that Fernando Alonso is coming back. Everyone,
Who I think they should go for, they've got a good young academy, and if they're serious about being in F1, they should promote either Guan Yu Zhao or Christian Lundgaard into the team. Do I think Renault will do that? No. Which is a shame, because I think both of those guys deserve a shot in F1, and this would be the perfect opportunity to do it. Who I think they will go for is Fernando Alonso.
Why?
Fits their short-term profile, because they bought Ricciardo in because they wanted results to impress the board. Who's the best guy to probably do that in the market? Probably Alonso. He does still perform to a very high level of driver, and if they can convince him to come, that would be huge for them. Nico Hülkenberg, for me, I've seen rumoured, but how toxic would that relationship be? Nico Hülkenberg basically got kicked out of the Renault team for Esteban Ocon, and now because Daniel Ricciardo's left them, I know Hülkenberg wants a way back into F1, but how could they ever trust themselves that, when the next opportunity came along, that they wouldn't just they wouldn't just drop Hülkenberg again? So it would be, it certainly wouldn't be a good partnership, in my opinion.
It would be a Red Bull Kvyat 2.0, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the other thing one has to consider, right, is if I was Fernando Alonso and I was gonna come back, I would only come back if there was a chance of running at the front, podiums and wins, and potentially the championship. Now, Renault haven't done that, because if they would have done that, yeah, Ricciardo wouldn't be looking for a way out. So what's the point in getting Fernando even coming back?
It's a good point, and I think, but the problem is Fernando won't get a seat at Mercedes. He now won't get a seat at Ferrari now that Carlos Sainz is there, and he's not going to get a seat at Red Bull. So therefore, he then has to look below. McLaren have just signed Daniel Ricciardo, so there's no going back there. Aston Martin, that's more of a gamble probably than what Renault are. Renault have made some very good appointments behind the scene, and they're not, remembering they were best of the rest, and they were fifth in kind of 2018 and 2019. So they're not desperately far away. This isn't like they're in Haas or Williams levels. They're not down the bottom and struggling through there. In the right hands, and if they get it right, there's a possibility. And Fernando's just desperate to come back to F1. If he wasn't desperate to come back to F1, I'm convinced he would have done a full season of IndyCar by now, or he obviously he did his full season of the World Endurance Championship, but he would be doing other racing series. Fernando wants to come back to F1 because he keeps going it. This is Fernando's best option in F1, and it still might turn out to be a successful one if needed. It would be incredibly surprising if he was able to get it up to championship contending position, but because I think they're a long way off that, but it's his only option back into F1.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a difficult one in terms of, I mean, we all know about Fernando and the, I'm not saying he's toxic, but, he sometimes he doesn't say the right things, or being a bit not diplomatic, shall we say. But I think that would sort of start playing. That's not going to play any role in it. So, what do you think the chances are that he's going to come back?
At the moment, I would say pretty high. For for some reason, I just have this feeling that Renault are going to go with Fernando and they're going to bring him back. And if we're looking this at a pure driver level,
yeah,
they have the ability to bring back a world champion into Formula One, and he's a better driver than what Daniel Ricciardo is. So they'd essentially lose Daniel Ricciardo and bring in a better driver. So on that basis, on a pure driving basis, forgetting everything else in terms of whether you think he works well in a team environment, whether you think he'd destroy Renault, whether you think he's just there because it's Fernando Alonso. If you're picking it for on-track performances and you need good on-track performances, he's the best driver that they could go out and get.
But then, do you think the fact that he's been out of Formula One for 3, is it 3?
It would be 2 years come the start of the 2021 season.
Yeah, 2 years. So do you think that would play any kind of role in their decision?
Potentially. I don't know. We don't know, but I know the 2019 season, I think he still did a little bit of testing with the McLaren at the start, but it's been a while. But he hasn't exactly been out of motor racing. He's still been for him, but driving an F1 car is different to it. The rules and regulations and the way the car drives hasn't really changed drastically since he's been in the sport. Yeah. So I don't think it would be that big an issue.
Yeah, I mean, look at what you want to look at Robert Kubica. He came back with essentially half an amputated or nearly amputated arm, and after 8 years, Ryan says, I don't want to be disrespectful to Robert, but I think he did an incredibly job, considering his disability he's got now. So I think, as you said, Fernando can just jump in the car, and then get on with it, providing that he understands that he's got to do it for the team and not himself.
Only Fernando will be able to live that out. A lot of people will question whether he can do that or not, but at the end of the day, the only power it's in the hands, if this goes ahead and Renault sign Fernando, is it's in Fernando's hands and it's in Renault's hands to kind of make it go. And in fairness, I think he would approach it a lot different, because he would view Renault as, this is my last chance to achieve anything in Formula One on top of what I've already achieved. So I think he would go about it a lot different than what he has done before.
Yeah, and so how surprised were you when I published my video yesterday, and then it actually happened in this morning?
Well, I think I said in my video that it was the worst kept secret in motorsport. I think although you released it yesterday, it wasn't releasing it yesterday because you're like, oh, this may or may not happen, and I'm getting ahead here. It was very much, this is happening. Carlos Sainz, there was too much talk around it saying Carlos is going to sign for Ferrari for it not to come true.
I did get a lot of negative comments about, especially on Facebook. But sometimes you've got to do these things to, I had 400 views yesterday, hit the 500 today. I'm at 540 now. And I gained, rather than losing subscribers, I actually gained subscribers and some really nice comments. And I just want to know from you, because I've hit the 500 mark. So let's just talk about, I want to hear your perspective on my channel. What do you think about my sort of the channel?
Well, look, 500 subscribers. I know you've been working a long time for this. This is now your kind of 4th year on F1 YouTube, isn't it, Raz?
Yes.
So, look, your channel, you put in hard work. It's incredible. And if you guys are watching this and you haven't subscribed to Raz, please do, because you're putting so much effort, and it shows. You've got your new mic there as well that you've kind of contributed into this. You're putting all the work, you're putting the Photoshop, you're trying to learn. So, hey, it's a well and truly deserved 500 subscribers, and I'm sure only more success will follow from this.
I mean, for me, I don't know whether you know, but I started this YouTube channel because 4 years ago, I had labyrinthitis. I had a really bad ear infection, and the doctor said to me, you need to find something that you can do, because somebody said to me on the phone, I was ordering a taxi actually down in Essex, and because somebody said to me, because that operator said to me, you're drunk, so we can't understand you, hang the phone up, I stopped speaking for like 3-4 days. Yeah, I literally stopped speaking, so I went to the doctor, didn't speak to the doctor. The doctor said to me, Raz, I know you can understand me, but we need to get you talking again. So he said, get yourself a camera and get yourself talk about Formula One. And then I thought to myself, I'll put it on YouTube. Might as well put it on YouTube. And that's sort of how it started. That's sort of why my first videos are a bit ropey sort of thing. Because I was still recovering from that, labyrinthitis. But, even I have seen massive improvements. And I really love talking to you. And, we've become brothers. And massive thanks goes out to Tomo as well. And Josh as well. And don't forget the F1 debate show, guys. Because and everybody that's watching, because it really does mean a word to me to actually all the support makes me smile, and it's better than any antidepressants I can ever take. So cheers for supporting me.
That's no problem at all, Raz. I mean, it's incredible what you kind of overcame, and it's incredible what a kind of positive influence this has had on your life. And you just keep regularly, you're putting out videos, and you can tell how much F1 means to you, and it's really great what you share with the F1 community. You always share your honest opinions, and it's always great to hear from you.
I mean, the one thing that I couldn't believe was when I was going down to Essex, and on the train, somebody said to me, "Can we take a picture?" And I was like, "What? Can we take a picture?" So I says, "Well, if you want to take a picture, let's take a picture." But I don't know what for. Until they told me, "You are the guy from F1 F1, aren't you?" So they actually recognized me from my YouTube channel.
You're a celebrity, mate. That's why you're a celebrity, clearly.
So that was kind of bizarre. So what's your weirdest, or what's your kind of most unusual experience connected to YouTube since you've done YouTube?
Oh, now I don't know if I've had a weird one. You've certainly got that. I've never had any celebrity status like you have in terms of someone going there. But the best one was probably going to Autosport and meeting fellow F1 YouTubers and meeting Katie for the first time, who supported our channel all the way from pretty much the beginning on 25 subscribers. So that was amazing to do. I enjoy kind of connecting and talking to the community like you're growing your own community as well, Raz.
Yeah, I mean, we all work in this together, sort of thing. And one thing that needs to mention is because I couldn't do this without the likes of you, Tomo, and the F1 debate show, and Josh as well. Because when I did the video with Tomo, they said his subscribers actually said, we want you on with Josh. So I thought, same as I did with Tomo to begin with. Actually, I thought they have like 60 odd thousand subscribers. So I thought they never sort of collaborate with me, and they would tell me to get lost. Basically, that's what I thought. But I just messaged them, and they said, "Oh yeah, when can we do it?" And this is sort of what I really appreciate and what really makes me happy. And to do these collaborations with you, I just told you today about 2 hours ago, and you just said, yeah, see you at 4 o'clock, and here we are. Sort of.
Here we are, Raz. Here we are.
So, did you think your channel would grow up as much as it has?
I don't think we ever think a channel will grow. You start sending out videos. I think you always hope it will grow. I don't think you ever get cocky enough to think that it would grow. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful for all the subscribers that had. Yeah. And obviously, I'm sure some of them came from you as well, Raz, because like I said, we're in this together. We enjoy talking F1 together, and that's been the best thing.
And I tell you what, after this, when this Corona's done, you come down Stafford, and then we meet up, in person.
Absolutely, Raz. Absolutely. I mean, that was the plan that we've had this before, but yeah, like so many things, Corona has kind of put a halt on a lot of things. So, but yeah, once this is all over, it would be great to kind of have a meetup.
Do you think we are actually going to get a season together?
I hope so. No idea. I'm hoping that Austria is going ahead. I won't count my chickens until it's lights out in Austria and everything's going ahead. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a season in 2020.
I'll tell you what I need you to do. If it is, because I'm staying away from all the Corona news, but because I'm literally getting bored of it, and the doctor kind of said to me, just stay away from it. But if you know any dates about any Formula One, just give me a text or whatever, because I would hate to miss it.
Oh, absolutely, Raz. Absolutely.
Just let me know. All right. So finally, what's your sort of plan for your channel for the future? Like, where do you think you're gonna be in in 2 years' time or something?
Oh, 2 years' time. No idea. Hopefully with a fair few more subscribers, and hopefully in that time we would have had a chance to go to Grand Prix and to do a few kind of race reviews at the actual Grand Prix circuit. That would be brilliant, and just to kind of keep meeting brilliant people on the F1 Worldwide podcast, and just connecting with more of the F1 community is probably where I see it in 2 years' time.
How do you get them, by the way?
You just keep asking people.
Well, final question is like, did you ever, what was your reasons for kind of starting it? What was the one thing that you said, we're gonna go on YouTube and start a YouTube channel?
I've always loved talking about sport. Sport's a big part of my life, with other sports like cricket and football as well. Big fans of Formula One, obviously a massive fan of as well. F1, I saw it was a community. I didn't necessarily have too many friends who spoke about it, and it was something that I always considered about kind of doing these sort of fan interaction channels on YouTube. So I was like, heck, why not? Let's start a YouTube channel. What could possibly go wrong?
And you didn't expect to have 800 plus subscribers now, have you?
Definitely didn't expect to have 800 odd subscribers in the year that we've been going.
Yeah, massively well done. If you haven't already, if you haven't already subscribed to either of us, first of all, subscribe to Mike's channel. I'll leave a link in the information card to the right of me, and also, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to both of our channels, because they are absolutely epic. And the final thing I would like to say is, cheers for all your support, and let's make it 1,000 by the end of. Let's make it 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. So
it'd be fantastic for you, Raz. It would be, and thank you as always for coming on. I can only reiterate: make sure you drop a subscribe to Raz on F1. Really helps supporting Raz out, and a great channel, of course.
Yeah. So cheers for watching, guys, and we're out of here. For all your F1 fans,
keep racing.
Okay, so.
Yeah, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, yeah, oh, oh, oh.